Hawkamah's main focus is the promotion of good governance, and we normally come at it from a higher level, particularly at the board level.
Corporate governance is a journey more than just a destination. The most successful companies are not the ones that have the best market share or the strongest financial status. No. The strongest or the most successful organizations are the more adaptable to changes that might arise. Starting from the point one of the top is everything. It's a race towards excellence with no ending line.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Voices of Governance, a podcast series by Hawkamah, the Institute for Corporate Governance, where we talk to experts in corporate governance across the GCC. Today, I'm delighted to introduce Mr. Mohamed AlShamsi, an Emirati with over 18 years of experience. Currently, he is Head of Corporate Governance at United Arab Bank and also sits as a member of the Corporate Governance Committee at the UAE Banking Federation. Today, we're going to talk about how governance is translated from high-level principles into everyday business practices. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. Firstly, Mohamed, welcome to the podcast, and it's great to have you here today. As you know, Hawkamah's main focus is the promotion of good governance, and we normally come at it from a higher level, particularly at the board level. But it's really good to kind of get your views today of how it impacts businesses. So I wanted to start today by asking, what is corporate governance to you, and how did you first become involved with corporate governance?
Thank you very much for hosting me here today. It's a quite interesting question. To be honest, across the past few years, I've noticed that corporate governance is a journey more than just a destination. I started my career 18 years back as an engineer, and then I moved to project management, and then from project management to quality assurance, partners management, and then strategy and transformation. And then I decided to choose corporate governance as a main profession. And the reason why is that during my different roles across industries, I've realized how critical and how important is a corporate governance function for a business. So for me, it becomes more into a passion than just a profession or a routine that I do day to day. It's something that I embraced over the years, and I keep learning as the field is very dynamic and requires kind of a constant attention and research of what are the latest laws and regulations, what are the best practices, how we can embed, corporate governance within the other areas of the business.
Amazing. I think one thing I'd like to really point out from what you said there is about embedding corporate governance into an organization. So from your perspective, what is the main difference between kind of corporate governance and then business or functional governance?
There's a clear distinction between corporate governance and the business and functional governance. Corporate governance is, we can say that it's kind of an overarching, oversighting responsibility or authority on any organization. Business and functional governance are like systems and rules that actually implement this overall framework. Now, let's look at it as a constitution in a country. So the constitution of a country is corporate governance, while the laws and regulations and systems are the business and functional specific rules for a state or a city. So corporate governance is the overarching responsibility and the operating model and the framework, and the specific policies, laws, regulations, and rules combined under a system, leveraged under technology, are the business and functional governance tactics, we can say, and they definitely work together.
So why do you think companies are moving towards operationalizing governance at all levels of the business?
I believe it's critical and it's important for the organizations to embed corporate governance within the day-to-day operations. First of all, to achieve the objectives of this organization, to achieve the strategic goals that has been established by the shareholders and the board, and as well to achieve operational effectiveness and to gain public trust and protect the organization reputation. Corporate governance has principles and tactics and values that need to be exercised in different levels of the business. It's a practice which needs to be available in different sectors in the business, whether finance, human capital, procurement, operations, IT, legal, compliance. So you need to have corporate governance as a culture, as a mentality, as a practice, because it will be a shortcut to achieve your corporate objectives, strategies, and gain public trust.
Fantastic. And again, you touched upon strategy, and that's a topic that I wanted to talk about next. I think from the Hawkamah perspective, when we're working with entities and organizations, we're really keen to understand the role of strategy and risk management as well. So I wanted to get your views on below the board level, how can governance be integrated into strategic planning and performance management?
Excellent question. Dominic, corporate governance works hand with the performance management system, where we need to make sure that corporate governance practices and the framework is actually receiving those strategic objectives, translating those strategic objectives into SMART objectives and KPIs, key performance indicators. These key performance indicators needs to be cascaded from company level, like the CEO owns the main balance scorecard, and the cascade to the rest of the senior management, making sure that shared KPIs are being embedded in the different scorecards to make sure that we have a unified engine in performance management where the whole team, senior management team, and the rest of the employees are having more than half or 50% of their KPIs are shared. So then we are having a one direction where the strategic objectives are leading those KPIs and embedding the corporate governance practices, values, and principles. I'll give you an example. We work with almost all the units within the organization to make sure that their KPIs are following the best practice, having the major four main pillars in building an effective balance scorecard. However, we need as well to embed and include the corporate governance values and principles of fairness, transparency, accountability within the balance scorecard to make sure that we are setting the right culture and the tone of the top in the organization.
Amazing. And in the delivery of those strategic aims and business goals, or from your experience, how do you balance kind of compliance and control with delivering the strategic aims?
This is one of the challenges, to be honest, that we face as a governance professionals. We get ruled by the laws and regulations, and the landscape of regulation compliance is getting wider because in the financial sector, you are entitled to follow and apply the international laws and regulations and the domestic, the national laws and regulations. So the landscape is huge. Now, how to make sure we are actually balancing out between playing the role of a controlling function and playing a role of being an enabler for the business. Corporate governance across the year has been evolved and developed in a way to enable the business to achieve their commercial and business objectives, rather than just being a gatekeeper and a controlling function, assurance that we are just following the laws or regulations. This is a start with having the right awareness, creating an awareness across the organization about the importance of regulation compliance and having a robust governance practice in every unit. Also, playing a role of streamlining the business. So we as corporate governance function or professionals, we need to be adaptable to the changes. We need to be flexible. We need to be agile. And we are doing our best to apply this in our frameworks. So it's not just, a one-side discussion. So the communication is always back and forth. The dialogue and conversation is open. And we are always ready to put the right tweaks, enhancements on our frameworks to make sure that we are controlling the business and achieving a full compliance to the laws and regulations, but at the same time, we are enabling the business to achieve their objectives.
Amazing. I think that leads me really nicely onto our next topic. You talked about embedding processes, and you also mentioned the tone from the top and how important that is within an organization. And culture is something that we're really interested in at Hawkamah. It's not something that you can quantify. It's really difficult to measure a good culture versus a bad culture. But from your experience, how can a culture across an organization support or undermine effective governance?
I believe starting from the point tone of the top is everything. If you remove this, I think the whole building will collapse. It will definitely start with the board. So induction of the board, the training, the board composition. We go back to the laws and regulations. The ultimate owner of corporate governance in any organization is the board. So we as a governance professionals, we help to ensure that we create the awareness on the board level and carry on this message to cascade across the organization, from senior management, the C-suite, all the way to the different layers in the organization. Now, training and inductions for the board, trainings and awareness sessions for C-suite and the rest of the organization employees, as well as encouraging the good governance practices within the organization and celebrating those little achievements under the governance umbrella will always help to support this objective to be achieved. And as well, we as professionals, we need to demonstrate the principles of corporate governance: fairness, transparency, accountability, integrity. We need to demonstrate this in our day-to-day. We can't just mention this in the papers, and the frameworks, and the documents, and the policies. We need to practice this in day-to-day. We need to use it in our day-to-day language. And I believe leaders, chairmen, board members, shareholders, and also executive management now acknowledge and realize and understand the importance of corporate governance. And I've seen it in the past 6-7 years that there is a public awareness about corporate governance driven by the laws and regulations. And as well, this awareness podcast is one of the main pillars that will create that awareness, that will spread the word and will shed the light of the importance of having a robust governance practice within an organization.
Amazing, thank you. And just to kind of build on your point, particularly around collaboration and things like that, in your vast experience as both a senior executive and as also a board member, you will have to take decisions on a daily basis, decisions that kind of affect the business. Do you think there are any challenges in building a culture that naturally supports ethical business decision making?
Yes, I believe there are a few challenges that impact this objective. I believe, first of all, is how to create a balance with the competing interests. Mm-hmm. We have different interests in the organization. We have interests from the shareholders, we have interests from the board and senior management, and we have interests from employees and the community. The community as well force few interests or directions or some challenges on the... So data privacy is one of the ethical, let's say, topics that actually been discussed in the past 2 years. And we have specific laws and regulations, whether in the UAE or in the region, to tackle this aspect. So we have established our frameworks to support ethical decision making, to support the rapid change of technology as disruptors, while maintaining the data privacy. Also, we have a challenge of how to bring, all these stakeholders, various stakeholders, together on the same page. Again, we have the shareholders, board, senior management, the employees, the government entities, the community, is how to bring them all on the same page and make sure that we are speaking one language and we are actually encouraging ethical decision making to make sure that we achieve the ethical culture.
Amazing. You've touched upon kind of the variety of stakeholders that as a senior executive or a board member that you will have to liaise with and take their interests into consideration. Sustainability is obviously a really important aspect of any business, ensuring the sustainable life of the business and its ongoing success. ESG, or environmental, social and governance issues, has been a hot topic over the last few years. I'd love to get your views on how the ESG can be a shared responsibility across the different functions of a business.
I believe during the awareness and the culture built in organization, the ESG, environment and social governance, needs to be embedded in their balanced scorecard and the KPIs, in our frameworks, in our models, in our policies and procedures. Corporate governance play a major role in this, making sure that we don't just achieve a competitive advantage. We are definitely in an era of rapid change and high competition across different sectors and industries. However, the key objective here is to achieve a sustainable competitive advantage, an advantage that will be sustained through protecting the environment, supporting the community, and helping organizations to get included within the national agenda of social aspects and environment. I mean, we all follow the Economic World Forum, right? And in the past few years, one of the major topic was the climate change, technologies, disruptors, AI, blockchain. Blockchain put us on a new challenge where there is a decentralized data governance. Now, we are required to make sure that our data is being governed and is being managed in a way that we protect the nation on a cybersecurity level. However, blockchain comes as a disruptor. So keeping all of these in mind, ESG and achieving a sustainable competitive advantage would be major elements to have a robust governance practices that will help to overcome those challenges and turn and convert these threats, if we say, to opportunities to be accomplished in the near future.
Fantastic. If I may, you've talked about some of the strategic or technology disruptors that are coming. AI being a big one. You've mentioned blockchain. I'd love to get your views on how this will change governance in the future.
We are currently looking at technology disruptors are opportunities. It's like a wave that's coming, a huge wave, but we need to be equipped with knowledge and new tactics to ensure that we are sailing through this wave safely. Governance of data is a major topic that has been discussed previously. And with the help of the laws and regulations which has been recently established by regional and national regulators, will act as a compass. So building an agile and flexible and adaptable corporate governance frameworks and models will be key. And I believe if we look at the successful stories for any organization or company, the most successful companies are not the ones that have the best market share or the strongest financial status. No, the strongest or the most successful organizations are the more adaptable to changes that might arise, who are being proactive. So, as governance professionals, we need to build models that can capture risks earlier, can spot any opportunities ahead. So proactivity is a major as well key here to ensure that we achieve this goal.
Thank you for that. I mean, we've talked about a wide range of topics from sustainability to strategy and to risk. And obviously some of these are kind of the best case scenarios. But what are some of the common barriers that you've seen in your experience that organizations face when you're trying to operationalize, these best practices?
One of the challenges that actually, face us as a governance professionals is you need to be able to carry on the message from shareholders, board level, all the way cascaded to the rest of the team, and having an impact also on the wider scale, on your partners, on the government entities, on your vendors, on your service providers. So how to have that message go across, with the right echo is a challenge. Leveraging on technologies, you might be having the best technologies on board, but maybe these technologies might, be in a conflict with the laws of regulation, with data privacy laws or regulation. So there are so many technology providers there, but what will make the best fit for you, which requires a lot of research, a lot of understanding of your needs, your challenges, and where you want to go, and aligning all these, aspects and governance practices, the purpose. There's a purpose that has been set up by the shareholders and the board and the senior management, and how to actually make sure that these governance models, frameworks, are serving this purpose.
Amazing. So, Mohamed, you've talked really eloquently about the best practices in all these different areas we've talked about. You've mentioned some of the challenges in delivering this. So, once you've delivered something, how do companies actually measure whether governance is being embedded in an organization?
Across the years, we have came up with a concept in corporate governance where we look at it as a pyramid, right? So top of the pyramid is the constitution, right? So the constitution of the articles of the organization. And this has to be in line with the laws and the regulation that comes, that is applicable, whether it's international or national. And once we have this regulation compliance with laws and regulations, we look at the structure of the power of attorneys within the organization. And we help the organization to have organization structure that support the law, those regulations, and the POAs. And then we have the set of authorities and tasks in the delegation of authority. And then the base of that pyramid will be the policies, the organization-wide policies and procedures.
And finally, coming into the kind of final section of our podcast, you've had a really vast career over many industries, and you've seen corporate governance change in the region and its kind of ongoing progression. I'd love to get a view from you as to what is the future of functional governance in the region? Where are we heading?
We are moving to mega cities. We're moving towards a governance of a centralized government. So governance will become definitely more critical as we progress, because it will require alignment on a nation level. So we will need to cooperate with different major players in the industry, For instance, in the financial industry, we have banks, we have exchange houses, and we have the financial market, but you cannot work just in silos. We need to go beyond the circle and start aligning our governance practices across the other sectors in the economic system. This will put us in a challenge, in a quite interesting potential and opportunities, where we have to learn other ways of doing things and to create that alignment ultimately. So the future will be very interesting, and the potential is very wide.
Definitely agree with you, and I know from kind of our conversations that you are a student of life. You enjoy learning and picking up new things, and I'd love to understand your view on what is the role of leaders and board members for the future. What skills or what things will you have to learn to effectively govern organisations moving forward?
Yeah, I think the ability to cascade a message. I mean, communication. Knowledge transfer, sharing. I believe sharing a principle, sharing an idea, sharing a thought is really important, and as well the competency, the skill set to deal with different situations. Sometimes it becomes tough. Conflict management is another topic, another thing that we need to, as a governance, need to master, because we might have in a situation constant knowledge sharing and believing on the talents that's coming and picking up the right steps to make sure that these talents are being taking their opportunities very well, and creating the environment and the culture for them, bringing those enablers to allow those potential leaders to become, the next voice for the governance professionals and board members, and this is how it should be.
So coming to the final section of this podcast, we've talked about some of the best practices. We've talked about the challenges of embedding effective governance in organisations, but just wanted to look ahead, look forward to the future. How do you feel the role of leaders and board members is evolving to support governance at all levels?
I believe the role of leaders and the board is critical to create a proactive approach, a more stakeholders focused, and create a governance frameworks that will face the complex disruptors that has been arriving. So I believe looking ahead, boards and leaders will have a central and vital role to make sure that governance as a practice will achieve and create value long term, and will help the organization to secure long-term success.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Mohamed. That was a really, really insightful conversation, and I look forward to having many conversations with you in the future about corporate governance.
Thank you, and thank you for Hawkamah Institute for hosting us today here, and wish you all the best.
And thank you for tuning in to this episode of Voices of Governance by Hawkamah. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to ask us a question, reach us out in the usual places. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode.